Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were all meant to shine as children do. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone.
Human beings want recognition, and they want to be able to provide and feel a sense of accomplishment.
You talk about competence, and competence is what leads to performance, and hence success.
We are trying to make it far too difficult for our end customer to have a good experience with us by using technology. Top leaders have a very short leash.
Businesses today are competing primarily on customer experience. Right? Price and product is becoming the second denominator.
CX component, convenience factor and the ease of doing business. Those are the two things consumers want today. Never get complacent, because AI might take your job if you're complacent.
Welcome to another episode of CEX Talks. Today I have with me my good friend Casey Denby. Casey Denby is the VP of Strategic Operations at Zenarate. And today with him we will explore how AI, digital transformation, and most importantly, workforce development is reshaping the entire industry. He has led global operations and training organizations across telecommunications, financial services, technology sector, and also scaling startups. Casey, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Abhi. Happy to be here.
Would you want to share a few words about your background so that our audience knows you better?
Absolutely. My background is in operations and training, a highest level summary. I worked, as Abhi mentioned, with a couple telcos, Dish Network, Comcast, and then did some financial services work. I led some global operations programs at Western Union for 7 years. When I was there, I also led global training, quality assurance, knowledge management, LMS, and related learning solutions. And when I was in that role, I actually became the fourth customer of the solution that happens to be the company I work at today, called Zenarate. So I've had a thread of contact center work throughout my entire career, always been in CX, whether it's in CX backend or CX frontline, front end. And now, as you mentioned, I'm in CX technology. So I've really kind of done the whole spectrum of the space. I also led global training at Remax, the real estate company.
And what has interested you the most? What has excited you the most in this journey, going from an end consumer to a service provider to a technology provider? Is that indicative of how the industry has been moving?
That's a great question. Honestly, for me, it was an evolution not only of my career, but also of my passions. So ultimately, I ended up in the area that I love the most, which happened to be in learning and solutioning. So I really got into learning and then learning strategy. So strategy became a real strong passion of mine, but ultimately around the learning space. So being able to impact frontline, impact people's lives. And when I was working with BPO partners like StarTech in my other roles, I was able to see the impact of what I did up close. And that really changed my entire, passion of what I wanted to do. And so when I was able to find not only a role that fit me well, but also a solution that I had leveraged and implemented successfully that I knew had global reach, global impact. That's when I decided, when the CEO of this company reached out to me and said, "Hey, do you want to join me?" And I said, "I'm not a salesman." They're like, "What do you want me to do?" He's like, "You got all the intangibles." He said, "Just go share your experience with everybody." And that's what I did.
You first ate your dog food and then you went to sell it.
That's right. That's right. And I still don't consider myself a salesman, right? I mean, I am a strategy leader, operations thought leader, right? Like that's what I do. I love frontline learning and am now able to speak to some of the top brands in the world. I mean, I could list off, even just 10 of the partners that I have. And you'd be like, wow, they're leveraging this. And that's my opportunities. Now I get to actually impact a much broader global audience.
So let's deep dive into your experience a bit. From various data sources, be it analysts, or industry research. Of course, businesses today are competing primarily on customer experience. Right? Price and product is becoming the second denominator. First is experience, because bad experience, consumer would go away to your competing brand. Now, have you witnessed a shift across industries? Because you have worked in different industries.
Mhm.
Okay, would love to get your perspective on how that shift has manifested Number one. Second, are there some industries which are laggards, versus, some which are leading with
Yeah, I mean, when you think about the transformation of this space, I would give you a couple of examples. Going back to my days at Western Union is older than you and I both. Okay. In fact, both of us combined and then add our parents on top of it. It's like a 175-year-old company. And it's fascinating the evolution of that company from literally from telegrams into digital money transfer. But even within the Western Union environment, where you think, how are they lasting so long? What is the secret to that? Well, the secret is being able to evolve with the times. So, evolution of what you just described has been the key to their longevity. And even in that area, there's been a lot of evolution. So, Western Union probably has still a million retail locations around the globe. And you think about that, you're like, well, why? Why do they need that many? But what's happened over even the past 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, if you really start thinking about when this started, digital started to take over that space. And now I can do all of what Western Union offers from my mobile app on my phone or a laptop, any sort of service. So what I'm trying to say is that there's been a bunch of competitors that have jumped into the landscape offering digital only solutions. Now they're limited in their markets. That's why Western Union is still the global dominating player, because there's a lot of compliance, there's a lot of licensing, there's a lot of things that go into it besides technology. But the reality is the shift is moving to digital, and that's happening in every single industry. And one thing I'll just add to this is the ultimate need right now is convenience factor for the CX component, convenience factor and the ease of doing business. Those are the two things consumers want today. And we, you, I, everybody else who's in the service industry are here to enable that ultimately.
that. The key to customer experience is your employee engagement. Okay. And there is data to prove that. Okay. Highly engaged workforce leads to a 10% increase in consumer ratings, 21% boost in productivity, right? How have you seen that up manifest itself in the roles you have done?
It's a great question. With my experience, I've discovered a couple of things. Number one, I've been on the wrong side of employee experience. And anybody who has been on the wrong side of employee experience, I think has a better understanding for the importance of employee experience. Unfortunately, there are a lot of brands out there that focus too much on the customer when ultimately, listen, people are like, what are you talking about? Ultimately, the people inside your own company determine the level of service that they give outside to your consumers. If you don't have a happy workforce, you're not going to have a great customer experience. It's just the reality of doing business. Here's one philosophy that I have, and this really comes back to what I'm doing now. But when I was in that role, I was tapped on the shoulder to lead that role. I didn't apply to that role at Western Union. I was given the opportunity. It was a promotion. I was bringing 3 different groups together, and I had to learn to do my role. And so I became a student all over again. And ultimately, I realized a couple of really important facts is I needed to give my people the best chance at succeeding. And my role was to enable their success. So ultimately, after all this study, I was like, okay, what do I need to make sure people have? Well, the first thing a contact center or a frontline service person needs to have is comprehension. So I was like, how do I instill competence in people? And I came up with this: competence promotes confidence, which drives performance. And ultimately, that's true. If you've ever done a sport or you dance or you act or whatever, if you get on that front stage in the limelight and you don't have confidence, forget about it, right? You're going to crack, you're going to break a leg in the wrong way, so many different things. So I was like, well, how do I start with competence first? Because that's what drives confidence. You have to be good at what you're doing. And then after that, the results just come. I mean, that's just the natural movement. And so ultimately, we as leaders in this space, and we as, as far as entrepreneurs and those that are trying to evolve this space, we have to set our sights on setting our people up for success and then not getting them lost in the jungle after we've trained them, right? So many companies like have this great onboarding program, and then they're like, okay, good luck. And there's not much ongoing coaching, ongoing development, ongoing support. So I guess to summarize, if you're not focusing on the employee experience, you're missing the boat, because those are the people that ultimately drive a better customer experience.
Then why do you think there is still a gap?
I think there's a reality of business profit, quarter to quarter, stock market results, quarterly results up to boards, things like that. And unfortunately, top leaders have a very short leash. And if they're not able to deliver in that period of time, they don't have that leeway flexibility, unfortunately, or they feel like they don't, then they can lose sight of what's most important. So I know we're going to talk a little bit today about turnover and resilience of employees and tenure. And that's, again, it starts at the top. What culture are you creating in your organization? And if your focus is just on the next month or the next quarter, you're ultimately going to peter out. It's not going to work. Your people are going to be very unhappy. You're not going to be able to deliver. Strategy is not delivered in 3 months. I'm working with a company right now. I won't name the company, but let's just say they're a large mobile service provider. And in that space, you're trying to differentiate yourself. And unfortunately, sometimes price might not be the number one differentiator, but coverage and reliability and quality, believe it or not, are actually more important to most consumers. And so one of these companies that I'm working with had a bad rep for a while and spent billions of dollars to improve network performance, reliability, all of those things. And that has really helped propel them into the future. But that took 10 years to be able to evolve with that strategy. And that's something that you as a company, as a leader, have to be able to commit to and say, hey, listen, we're not going to have these results in 6 months or even 2 years maybe, but here's our long-term strategy. And in the meantime, we have these commit milestones that we're going to get to. I think that's what people really want as an organization, Abhi. They want to be vision cast. They want to know what's coming. Why should I stay here? What's exciting? What can I be a part of? And then making sure that those employees are given benefits and rewards along the way for sticking with the organization. So I do think that there's the shift at the top, and then ultimately it's, are you getting people in the right fit? Are you setting them up for success? And I would just say, if you're not setting your employees up for success, they don't feel like you've committed to them.
Okay. So let's talk about setting them up for success. You talk about competence, and competence is what leads to performance and hence success. We are in a world today where AI is reshaping the very fabric of how we work, how we interact, and what skill sets will be needed in the future. How do you address that?
I'll start with this. AI must be complementary to human needs and performance, regardless of the organization, regardless of the role. And there's a lot of hype around AI, and sometimes people can get a little too ahead of their skis. And there's also a lot of fear. You mentioned it. People think, oh my gosh, my job's going to be gone next year or next month or whatever that may be. To your point, we have to augment our skills. And if you're asking me where I think AI plays best, it is supposed to take the mundane, the menial, the low skill type of work and jobs away, and should help and enhance and augment human performance to deliver a better, not only customer experience, but a human experience. I want AI to help me do my job better, Abhi. I want to embrace it. And I think you're going to talk about a really key statistic. It's not only taking away jobs, like that's the fear factor, but it is creating millions and millions of new jobs. And I think that's where we want to kind of steer the conversation, right? Is how AI can benefit us. So move away from the fear factor and into kind of the vision of how it can benefit and enable human beings.
And how are you seeing AI in specifically what you're doing with Zenarate in creating and training for that future? Because say 67 of the consumers are saying creativity, empathy, friendliness is important.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can AI deliver it?
Great. When I was in my role, one of the first things I realized was that people learn by doing. In fact, 70% of what you and I and every other human being on this planet, that's how we learn, is by doing. Not by listening, not by watching or observing. That's okay, but that's a 5 to 10% learning. We want to actually get good at something. You have to pick something up. You have to actually do something. And when I realized that, I was like, okay, well, the number one thing people are doing in my role that I'm training for is servicing customers and learning systems and how to navigate and all that fun stuff. Well, how do you learn how to have these conversations when you've never had these conversations before? They're basic tenets to what we have naturally as human beings. Some strengths we have as conversationalists and others maybe not so much. But ultimately, those are pretty particular skills that you have to learn if you've never done the role before. A human role play is great, but I can't I can't scale human role play. And it's biased. But when I figured out that role play technology was real and it existed, I jumped all over it. And I went for a pilot. We were able to bring 10 months of competency down to 4. So we saw this human impact. And this was using the early days of intent-based AI. You know what this is. Most people don't. But it's NLU, NLP, natural language processing, and it understands to an extent the conversation of what's happening. It's completely changed now with the introduction of GPT technology, right? The ability to have a real, true dynamic conversation. But the principles are the same. Let's talk about what the consumer wants. So getting employee experiences is first and foremost. But what does the customer want? They want a competent agent, a competent person when they pick up that phone or when they chat into your company. They want somebody who knows what the heck they're doing. Number 2, they want somebody who can actually solve their issue. And then number 3, they want speed. So people think, well, it's speed first. No, it's not. I'm willing to hang on the phone with you for another 10 minutes if I don't have to talk to another 4 people, or I don't have to call you back, or I don't have to suffer with whatever's going on. If you can be honest with me and say, hey, this is a complicated issue, Mr. Denby. It's going to take me just a couple of minutes. Can you hang out with me? I would take that a million times over somebody, not knowing what they're doing and passing me on to someone else, and then me having to do the whole, who are you again? Are you serious? When you get people this level of competence, you are ultimately impacting the customer experience for the better. And it is a win all the way around because that's what people want.
And that brings us to our next segment. While we are training, while we are creating competency, there is also this whole great resignation. And traditionally in the contact center industry has been facing that challenge.
Yes.
Where the turnover rates in some countries are as high as 120%. What's really driving the disengagement?
The failure of setting people up for success is number 1. And I think number 2 is the failure of ongoing coaching and development. I'll give you a clear example. When you come on board, let's say you have 30 days to learn something new and you're expected to deliver to certain thresholds. This is the contact center space. Correct me if I'm wrong. We expect you to jump on the phone and be at a certain level of proficiency, and we're going to hold you to these high standards. You're held to these standards by your customers, your brands, and you're expected to be able to deliver. And if you're not setting them up for success, when they get to that first phone call, I've heard that it's as bad as parachuting, jumping out of a plane, speaking in front of 1,000 people, giving birth. I could go on and on. I've heard all of this. It's like the most stressful moment of their lives. Why? That shouldn't be. That is a failure of us not setting them up for success. They should never feel that way. I would leave if that was my experience. And that is absolutely paramount to what we need to be able to be delivering for people. And that's where I really latched onto Zenarate, because Zenarate's primary goal as an organization is to set people up for success in their role, helping them learn and grow quickly and then adapt. To your point, it's a lot cheaper to upskill somebody that already is in your building than it is to replace them. And so there's the ongoing coaching. And what happens, I'm going to give you the reason I think number 2 is happening. So the lack of ongoing coaching and development, because companies are asking us, leaders, to do more with less. They're cutting our budgets. They're cutting headcount. They're cutting resources that are supposed to deliver the ongoing coaching, the personalization, the development. So now we can talk about AI and how AI can help fill that gap. Because I don't think that's changing anytime soon. I don't think companies are just going to open the purse and say, okay, go ahead and hire the 20 people you've been asking for. I don't think that's going to happen. Technology has to be there to augment what we can't do as human beings. AI needs to make it easier, quicker, and more intuitive for human agents to deliver for customers. That's where we're having this conversation. That's what you're focused on. That's what I'm focused on. And to your point, ultimately, the end winner of this is the customer, is the company, is the employee. It feeds everybody's belly and everybody is happier and more satisfied as a result. Now, why are we, unfortunately, trying to cram technology into bad uses? We are trying to make it far too difficult for our end customer to have a good experience with us by using technology. So my point is sometimes we are deploying the technology in the wrong ways. We're
I
deploying it
completely
to
agree with you. And data supports it, right? While you have 74 to 75% of the consumers saying AI will improve my experience. If you start looking at the data, only 5% actually believe it has done it. Okay. And to your point, making it difficult for the consumer is not a deflection or a containment strategy.
correct. As a consumer, let's get out of the back end customer
Mhm.
brand. As a consumer, and this is proven by statistics as well, we want convenience and ease of doing business. That's what we want. We've talked about this. You get to the point where the convenience has ended. I'm stuck. I'm at a roadblock. It's a complex issue. It's not something I can just go press a button and it's solved through the app. So when I call, I'm calling because I need the human being. I don't need another IVR bot trying to tell me that they can solve my problem that the website has already told me needs to be resolved through a human being. Do you see the frustration? Right. So what I'm saying is deploy AI where consumers want it, need it, and appreciate it instead of deploying it where you think it's going to save you money.
So that brings with that, what does the future of work look like? In case what are the type of roles you see as emerging?
Yeah. Ultimately, AI is intelligent. It's in the acronym. However, the intelligence has to be trained and it has to be curated and it has to be enabled and then restricted depending on the use case. If I'm a large healthcare company, I can't just unleash AI to assume it's going to do my job for me. Sorry, regulated, same with financial services, anything in the BFS space. Now, if you're, a retailer, it's a lot less risk, right? But the reality is that the skills that need to then be developed are these humans that now control the AI, what it does, who it benefits, where it should be enabled and deployed. There will never, and you're never going to get me to believe you're going to replace human beings 100% with AI. It's not going to happen. People have been saying this in the contact center space for how many years that agents are going to decline and go away by 50%. Whereas the last decade, we've seen only an increase in hiring of agents. It's like
Exactly.
counterintuitive and it's just not very well thought out. I think it's the whole technology can do everything thing. No, it can't. No, it can't. Can it do things that it couldn't do previously? Absolutely. And I welcome that. I think we all welcome that because we want convenience. Again, convenience is king. If you can save me a little bit of time, I'm willing to pay a little bit more for that service. But don't throw roadblocks in front of me. Allow me to be able to deliver what I need to deliver. And now coming back to the jobs, right? It's that ability to control, but it's also just augmenting where humans need to evolve to. You said complex issues are coming in. Well, we need to train the humans to be able to be more skilled, to be able to handle these complex items, but more than many other roles because it's a need. And that's the same with AI. There's going to be shifts there. There's going to be things that AI can do. And we as human beings then need to be skilled on other needs. There will be other gaps. There always will be. Something else will be coming around the corner.
So, Casey, if you were to give one message to the future leaders, Ken, and as they're looking at their organization, what would that be?
Man, you're putting me on the spot. We didn't prepare for this one. I mean, I would say, thinking about the context of this conversation, we as leaders in organizations need to be able to enable and empower our people to be able to deliver the needs for the market. So ultimately, my focus, again, it's going to be on the people. The people that work for you are the people that keep your company alive, the people that keep you delivering to the marketplace. Without your people, you're done. You're nothing. And so ultimately, we as leaders need to do two things. We need to train our people to be the best they can be and set them up for success right away. But then we need to help evolve their skill set. I've left 3 organizations in the past because they would not help me get to my next level of skill for another. Sorry. And I found it somewhere else. And you know what? Looking back, it's wild because the skills that I needed now are something I'm really, really good at. I just needed some mentorship. I needed somebody to help me along the path. And we as organizations need to be willing to do that. And one thing now coming back to what you're saying about, well, what's Zenarate doing to help kind of drive this future? You started working with us 3.5 years ago when we had a natural language intent-based AI. It's amazing. It's like revolutionary, right? Not anymore. There's been a lot of change. And so we've had to evolve, and as the technology has evolved. And now you can have a conversation with this simulator, and it's almost like you don't even know it's not a real person. It's wild. I can ask it, hey, who won the World Series in 1945, and it'll pull up that information for me. Now, don't get me wrong, people. There are risk containment, right? There's parameters. You can structure all of this, but the key is it feels real, and that allows and enables for now. You don't have to do human role play at all. You don't even have to be in a physical contact center. You can be at your home. You could be anywhere in the world. As long as you have internet connection and a speaker and a microphone, you can practice and get good at the role. Evolution, though, we're thinking way beyond that. We want not only to understand and train you at the beginning, but we want to know then when you jump in to speak to real customers, how are you doing? And then how are we remediating your opportunities? After we know, here's Abhi's skill set, here's his scorecard, his strengths, his opportunities. Are we helping him get better with ongoing coaching that is automated? You take the human out of that process, and then the human coach becomes more effective because they have less time, do more, less time. So use the tech to help you. And then from there, Zenarate is launching an AI thing. I know you referred to one of these as co-pilots, right? Microsoft has a co-pilot. We have our own. And it's our AI coach is going to become kind of your personal assistant. I think we're still working on the branding for what we're going to call it, but let's call it a tutor or a companion for now. So now when you come into the platform, you can say, hey, it's like ChatGPT, or it's like Siri. You say, hey, chat, what are my areas of opportunity? It's going to be like, you need to work on these skills. Okay, great. Can you give me a training? Boom, in seconds. You don't need that coach to do this for you. The technology can do this for you. And then the human leader can oversee and make sure that this is happening and fill the gaps where the technology doesn't exist. This type of evolution of the technology is what the market needs. It's what leaders need to be focused on. But ultimately, guess what? That tutor is helping who? The employee. It's helping the employee. It's helping them be the better version of themselves so that they can deliver and perform for you as the organization.
And then that's fantastic because that ties in, to what you said is the challenges you saw as you progressed in your career, and you're now trying to solve it using AI so that the future workforce don't have to face the same things.
And what's happening now in the workforce, we don't work for a company for 20, 30 years anymore and get a pension. We don't do that. We don't put up with that. If you're not delivering for me, I'm out. I can go get the job down the street, or I have the internet that I can find a job anywhere in the world, right? So again, reinforcing the importance of the organization on the employee experience, delivering them what they need when they need it.
In the interest of time, this has been a very exciting conversation. I know you and I can keep on talking for another couple of hours.
It's our superpower or something.
I appreciate you taking the time out and some great insights. Any parting words, for our viewers, where they can find you, how they can connect with you, and then tap into your vast wisdom?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm the only Casey Denby out there. I know, I've searched. So go ahead and find me on there. I'd love to connect with you. And, I do get around on the conference circuit and travel and get to speak. And Abhi and I got to speak a few times on stage together. And it's been a privilege every time. And it's just wild to see how things have evolved over when we started our partnership up until now. So, that's where you could reach me. Never get complacent, because AI might take your job if you're complacent. So you got to continue to grow and to skill up and to scale. So thanks for the opportunity. Really appreciate it. And hopefully next time, Abhi, we'll join the stage together.
We will. And thank you, Casey. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, viewers.